Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and read aloud about the NASA Soyuz launch. It's really, really cool, and I think you guys are really going to like it. We're actually going to read two texts about it. So while we read, I want you to be thinking about, is this going to be a first-hand account or a second-hand account? And try to underline or highlight or circle some signal words as we read. So the first thing I did was I wrote pose on the top of my paper to just remind me what my reading strategy is. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading the first text on page 202. What does a launch feel like? The crew gets in the Soyuz about 2.5 hours before launch. Once the crew is all strapped in, they perform a series of pre-flight checks of all the Soyuz systems. Shortly before the time of launch, you start hearing different noises below you, and you know things are getting ready to happen. Then it is as if a giant beast is waking up. You hear and feel the thumping and bumping of valves opening and closing as engine systems are pressurized. When the first engines light, there is a terrific low-frequency rumbling and things start to shake. Then the main engine lights and the rumbling and shaking get even louder. Slowly, you begin to move up and away from the launch pad, but very quickly you build up speed and the force of gravity increases. You shake and rattle along, and then there is a bang where the rescue system is jettisoned. Another bang when the four strap-on boosters separate, and another bang when the noise fairing comes off. Now the windows are uncovered, and you can see light coming in. 8.5 minutes after launch, there is a loud bang and jerk, and the last section of the rocket is jettisoned from the Soyuz spacecraft. And just like that, you are there in space. Okay, and I'm going to read the second text called Plunging Back to Earth. So this could be the same kind of account, it could be different, so be thinking about that while you read. In the middle of an October afternoon in 2018, two men boarded a Soyuz rocket. They were in the Central Asian country of Kazakhstan. U.S. astronaut Nick Hague and Russian cosmonaut Alexei Orkivin went through normal preparations. A few hours later, they blasted off. It was supposed to be a normal 6-hour flight. They were headed to the International Space Station. At first, everything went well. The rocket's 4 strap-on boosters separated from the central core stage just as planned. Then, something went terribly wrong. Failure of the booster, the crew radioed to Mission Control. The rocket's upper stage did not separate properly from the capsule, so the spacecraft went into abort mode. So, instead of the spacecraft getting pushed further into space, it was now plunging back to Earth. The spacecraft rapidly lost speed as it fell through Earth's thick atmosphere and the parachute was deployed. The crew fell almost 7 times the normal force of gravity pressing against them. As the spacecraft fell, Mission Control sent a warning. Tighten the straps, the flight controllers called, urging the crew to check the belts that held them in their seats. The controllers feared a crash landing. Then, shortly after, radio communication with the ship went silent. Mission Control worried that the crew had been injured. Fortunately, Mission Control was able to track the spacecraft and saw that it had landed about 250 miles from the launch site. Recovery crews rushed to the landing site. As they got closer, they finally made radio contact with the crew. Both men were safe and they had survived the failed launch. Okay, guys, go ahead and answer the questions that you haven't answered yet. Good luck.